We are living in interesting times. Not just the Eurozone, but the entire world economy feels uneasy. And it has felt that way for about the last 4 years. Raging debates. Bank regulation, more or less. Taxes, higher or lower. Austerity, yes or no. Trade liberalization, more or less. And against this backdrop of chaos and economic turmoil, the entrepreneur has risen as an almost undisputed heroic figure. The entrepreneur. They build things out of nothing. They generate jobs and create wealth, not just for themselves, but for others. They raise our standard of living. They enhance welfare. They generate prosperity. So it's not surprising that an increasing number of pages in the popular press are devoted to entrepreneurs, writing about them, chronicling them, celebrating them. Political leaders of all stripes have increased their focus on entrepreneurship. President Obama highlighted entrepreneurs in his recent State of the Union address. And his administration has put enhancing entrepreneurship as a central pillar of the America Competes Act. Here at home, Prime Minister Harper and every one of the premiers has increased their discussion and focus on enhancing entrepreneurship in Canada. In this city, it feels that almost every week there is at least one dinner or gala celebrating entrepreneurs. So it's not unreasonable to ask whether this entrepreneur as hero narrative has gone a bit too far. But the empirical evidence suggests that it may be warranted. Probably the most convincing evidence has come from Professor John Halterwanger at the University of Maryland, who's been studying the U.S. Census Bureau longitudinal business database between 1976 and 2005. And his research has shown that the old debate about whether new jobs are created by small or large firms is totally misguided. It's not about small versus large firms. Once he's done the regression analysis, he's shown that the story is really about young versus old. That young firms are responsible for generating the majority of new jobs. Not just gross jobs, but net new jobs. And it's not just job creation. They enhance the efficiency of the economy. We gave our 72 finalists, 73 actually, 73 finalists an exercise for the last 2 weeks before they came here for selection weekend. The exercise was to come up with a mobile device application idea. And most of them used access to data, a handheld computing device with GPS capability and so on, to solve efficiency problems in society. How to better allocate doctors with slack in their schedule with patients. How to allocate restaurants with unused capacity with customers. How to take Twitter feed data of events and better spatially allocate taxis. They are using technology to enhance society. So, it's not surprising that programs, initiatives, incubators that promote entrepreneurship abound. But there is a risk that these programs, including our own, fall into the trap of glorifying entrepreneurship. Because being an entrepreneur is hard. It's risky. It can be demoralizing. It can take everything a person has and leave them with nothing. Tomorrow morning, half of the students that are seated around you will learn that they didn't make it into this program. They will get on a plane and fly back to their home campus. And they may be the lucky ones. Let me tell you about one of our alum from last year. Is Krista Caldwell here? Is Krista here? Krista, can you just stand up for a second? Okay, you can sit down. I just want everyone to see where you were. All right, this time last year, Krista arrived at selection weekend. And the first question that she was hit with was why on earth did she choose to go to Quest University that nobody east of the Rockies had ever heard of? She was asked, wouldn't it have been smarter for you to go to a large, well-established university where employers and graduate schools would better recognize your education? She put up a vigorous defense of her decision. And then, after a series of interviews, 24 hours later, she was told that she had not made it into the program. But Krista still had some fight in her. And she collected up 3 other unsuccessful candidates, and they formed a team, and they started to build their venture. And in May, they came back, and they insisted that they be considered for re-entry into the Summer Institute. They put up a compelling case, and after much debate, they were let in. And then shortly thereafter, the idea that they had been working on was discovered that it had a technical flaw, a fatal flaw. So the business had to be shut down. They had to start again, and again, and again. And they didn't land on their final idea until almost halfway through the summer. And then they put everything they had into it. At the end of the summer, they were still only in the early stages of developing that idea and the software. Krista emailed back home to her home institution and asked if she could take a leave of absence so she could continue working on her business. On November the 9th, I went to their launch party held at corporate headquarters, which is, of course, their apartment. The business is run out of their living room. Their employees arrive every day at their apartment and set up their computers in their living room. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, and there are 3 partners. Every partner has taken a room, has been allocated a room based on what they can afford to pay for the rent. And Krista can afford the least. So Krista sleeps on a futon on the floor with a bookshelf and a sheet draped over a cord, because there are no walls, to give her a semblance of privacy. And I tell you this because it's important for you to know, because this program has had such high-profile fanfare. We've been very lucky. The press has been very good to us. And we've had excellent contributions, participation by very high-profile, prominent business leaders. And many people across this country have the image of the Next 36 that's taken from a magazine article where there is a glossy feature with a photograph of Next 36 candidates, all holding champagne glasses, talking to some of Canada's most prominent business leaders on the back lawn of the estate of Galen Weston. And it's incumbent upon me to tell you, the friends of the Next 36, and especially the cohort that gets in for next year, that while we appreciate opportunities like that very much, that is not a normal day in the life. So I will tell you that this evening, when you hear from our keynote speaker, in particular our alum, I will tell you what they will be listening for. While they will enjoy all of his remarks, they will not be so focused on the part where they learn about how he became one of Canada's great media moguls and ultimately sold his company for over $2 billion to CanWest and Goldman Sachs in 2007. They won't be totally focused on the part where he then describes how he used some of that wealth to start a not-for-profit, Samara, with the modest objective of enhancing Canada's democracy, which, by the way, they've already started doing by conducting the first ever series of exit interviews with 65 members of Parliament. Nor will they be totally focused on how he then has just recently started a new media company, Blue Ant Media. I will tell you that last year's students are going to be most focused on the part of his story between 1978 and 1982, where Michael McMillan and his friends at Queen's from the film department packed up their bags and left Kingston and drove to Toronto, and they set up their business. And for the next 4 years, paid themselves below the poverty line and struggled to pay their employees. During that time, they took on all sorts of work, not because of the cinematic opportunities offered by the work, but because they needed the work to keep the company going. And they will pay very close attention to the part of the story, the day in 1982, the afternoon, that Michael's wife arrived home and found him weeping on the couch, holding the classifieds, to tell her that the bank had just called the loan on his company. That is what they are craving to hear. Because it is in those darkest hours where the entrepreneur finds the fortitude to build what they've set out to build. Because there was no way that at that time, Michael McMillan knew that only shortly after, if he just could persevere, that his firm would begin working on a film that 2 years later, in 1984, would win an Oscar and set the company in motion, the short film Boys and Girls. The reason entrepreneurs are characterized as heroes is not because they drive fancy cars, fly their own jets, or live lavish lives. In fact, it's not even because they create jobs and wealth for others, because if they could do that with little effort, they would be handy for the economy, but not heroes. We regard them as heroic because of the personal sacrifices that they have to make just to have a chance to build something of significance. So tonight, as we head off into year 2 of the next 36, we are reminded that the reason we are here to nurture and encourage those who take on the challenge of entrepreneurship is not only because they will create jobs and opportunities and wealth for others, but because we know of the personal sacrifices that each will have to make to get where they need to go. With that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for the evening, one of Canada's great entrepreneurs who's done it before and is currently doing it again. Please join me in welcoming Michael McMillan.